beauty industry is obviously massive and it's dominated by big household names. So when we were seeking advice from mentors or investors, the vast majority of them had said, look, great idea, but you have absolutely no chance.
Hi, I'm Amber. Today I'm joined by Anna, the co-founder of Upcircle, the sustainable beauty brand that has made the circular economy a part of its unique service offering. Upcircle creates beauty products by recycling ingredients and operates a refill scheme to minimise packaging waste. Today we chat about the circular economy, the upcycling process, and barriers to sustainability within the beauty industry. Enjoy. So today I'm joined by Anna, the co-founder of sustainable beauty brand Upcircle. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. So let's dive straight into it. How did it all start? What sparked the initial idea for Upcircle?
Well, we've been around for 8 years now, as of last week, which feels mad. In a way, it feels like we started it yesterday, but then I also can't remember my life before it. It's all started basically from the idea of rescuing coffee grounds from cafes. Both me and my brother, who is the co-founder, were in fairly corporate roles in our early 20s. Decent, secure paycheck, but you'd come home feeling like, oh my God, am I going to really do this for another 50 plus years? So we were looking for that penny drop moment, and my brother worked in finance and would go into the same coffee shop each morning, and one day asked the barista what happens with the coffee that they tap out with every single cup of coffee that they make. And when he found out that they have to pay the local council to dispose of it at landfill, all of a sudden we had the problem that we wanted our business to solve. And then I came in saying, oh my God, coffee is amazing for your skin. We should start making skincare products from coffee that we collect from cafes. So that was the very, very original idea that started it all. So we started mixing up our own scrubs at home. And then we took them to the London Coffee Festival, where we sold out on the first day. And people seemed to really like the idea. It's quite different. No one else was doing it. And then it all went from there. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but that initial concept of rescuing ingredients and turning them into skincare is what remains true to this day.
So what is your process like in terms of repurposing and sourcing different ingredients? Because you use materials from all kinds of food and drinks, don't you?
Yeah, it's complicated. So at the moment, we are upcycling over 50 different byproduct ingredients from all sorts of industries all over the world. And those ingredients are used in very different ways to make very different things, from furniture to food and drink, as you mentioned, to the fragrance industry, all sorts of different things. So they've had an entire life before we meet them and we intercept them. So the way in which they're a byproduct essentially just means that they've been used for whatever purpose, and after that process, something's left behind. But the thing that's left behind, we have figured out has a proven skincare benefit. And so we rescue it, we reprocess it in one way or another. So that might mean grinding it into a powder, or extracting an oil from whatever the substance is, turning like a fruit peel into a wax. But yes, it gets processed in one way or another, and then it gets mixed into our formulations by our formulators. What I particularly love is that it means each product within the Upcircle range has a very unique story to tell. It's got like a double life, really. So I think it really is a big part of what makes our range so special.
And you said that consumers were really responsive to the coffee. What about other waste products? Are people responsive to that? Were they hesitant to try it? What was the response like?
Yeah, it's a funny one because as I mentioned, I was only 22 when we started the brand, and my brother was 25. So we were pretty young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Oh, let's start a business. The beauty industry is obviously massive, and it's dominated by big household names that have been around for 30, 40 plus years. It's a tough industry to disrupt, and it has a bit of a perception of being quite shallow, quite fickle, and of course very performance based, which makes sense. You buy a skincare product because you want it to do what you've bought it for. So when we were seeking advice from mentors or investors, to be completely honest, the vast majority of them have said, look, great idea, but you have absolutely no chance. It's our prediction that people will turn their nose up to this concept. You're talking about tackling waste, and then you're talking about ingredients that you're asking people to apply to their face. Like, it's too much of a stretch. So yeah, great idea, but I don't think so. Obviously, you look at where we are now. In some ways, yes, we are still a small brand, but we're selling in over 50 countries. We've got over 30,000 5-star reviews. We've won countless awards, more than 50. So ultimately, I think we've proven our point, and that actually, thank goodness, people are not just on board, but like really on board. Yeah, sure, we're not going to appeal to everyone, and those that don't get it or don't want to get it won't, but that's absolutely fine, because those who do are very passionate that what we're doing is amazing. So we've built this incredible loyal tribe that we call our Upcirclers over the last 8 years. And they're the sorts of customers that genuinely want to tell their friends and family about what they're doing. And I think that's what has ultimately led to our fast growth. Things like press, where a lot of brands might have to pay for inserts in publications, we never really have, because what we are doing really is a story in itself. So it helps. It helps with the marketing. And yeah, I think we've been pleasantly surprised. I think my brother and I obviously backed our own concept, but some of these industry big dogs that we were asking in the early years certainly didn't think that we would. So it makes us, I guess, a bit more proud that we've had the bravery to go ahead and truly disrupt what is an industry that hasn't changed much in the last few decades.
That's what it takes.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what it takes for disruption.
Tell them they're wrong when you're 22.
Yeah.
Bit ridiculous, but don't regret it.
It worked out well, so
Exactly.
worth it. So what do you think the biggest barriers are at the moment to better sustainability in the beauty industry?
Great question. Yeah, I do think that we have specific challenges which are hard for us to overcome because we are the first people doing what we're doing. So, for example, certification, absolute nightmare. I understand certifications have their criteria. That's exactly what makes them respected, because it's a standard that they're setting. So it has to be difficult to achieve. But there are a few where we will never be able to get them because the traceability of our ingredients is so complicated. So if you take coffee as the perfect example, we are collecting over 100 kilograms per day from artisan coffee shops, cafes, restaurants all over London. And if we wanted our coffee scrubs to be certified organic, bear in mind that coffee is over 50% of the formulation. All of these cafes and restaurants and bars would also have to pay for the annual certification, and that is never, ever going to happen. It makes me laugh a little bit because a lot of the certification bodies will use us as an example. They'll ask me to be a judge in their awards, or, they'll talk about what we're doing. So they're very supportive in that sense, but technically we can't be certified. So that's a challenge. Yeah, I think that's probably the primary one, to be fair.
And your brand advocates for circular economy. So not only with upcycling of products, but with your reusable jars and packaging. What advice would you give to brands looking to move more towards a circular economy?
You've just reminded me of the second half of what I was going to say, which is packaging.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, packaging is the other massive stumbling block for sustainability in the beauty industry. It's really hard. And we've obviously seen that ourselves. And I think the biggest reason for that with beauty and cosmetics is it's important that the products can be used hygienically, without dunking your hands into it each time. But often the products are really small as well, and they require different materials in the elements of the packaging. So if you think of, I don't know, like a serum where you want to pull the oil out of the pipette, that's going to have plastic and rubber. And that's what makes it very, very difficult to recycle. So yeah, it took us a while for our own brand to put in place a more circular approach to the packaging, but it was very important to us that we did. Obviously, we're known for circular economy. It's what we've centered our entire brand on, including the brand name. And we built our reputation on circular ingredients. So it only really made sense that we would then follow that with circular packaging. I think we introduced our packaging return scheme in like year 3. once we'd built the infrastructure behind the scenes to accommodate it. So we're talking like large scale sterilization ovens, staff to actually run the scheme. But our scheme that we now have, it's really rapidly growing. And I think it's industry leading, to be honest. So we started out by looking at loads of other brands, what they were doing, how they were advertising packaging return schemes. What we tended to find is that they would be hidden in the small print. You know, they'd market themselves as having one, but actually from the consumer perspective, it was quite hard to find. And then it might only be applicable to one or two products from within a broader range. So with ours, we have a full section on our website. Every single product can be refilled, except for our soaps, which obviously disintegrate with use. So you can't refill that. They don't have any packaging. And then we offer them at a 20% discount as well. So the customer is incentivized to refill. They get sent a free post label. So we pay for the return shipping to us. And then on receipt, we will sterilize the packaging, refill it, and send back each customer's own packaging to them. Because I think that was another thing that we found is the packaging would get sent back and then all kind of brought into a mix. So if you're someone who takes great pride in there never being a dent or a scratch or whatever, and you get sent back one that is a little bit more worn, let's say, then that's a bit disheartening. So that was another thing where we were going through the process of researching that it seemed was really important to customers that, you know, they want to get something back that feels as nice as what they sent in. So yeah, I think it can be done. I think it's very hard, and we do commit a lot of resource to our scheme, whether that is staff, time, or indeed the money, you know, whether it's the money of getting the products back to us, the shipping, or, equipment, all the rest of it. But it's absolutely worth it. And I think that it just has to be something that the brand really wants. I know that consumers really want it. And it's another big part of, engaging your audience to want to continue to shop with you, because they might be less inclined to try a different moisturizer or whatever product when they know that they can get theirs refilled with you. So I'm glad we did it, but I can understand why people don't, because it's hard. It's not a simple change.
Definitely. Well, research has shown that consumers want brands to be doing more. So I guess the easier you can make it for consumers to shop sustainably and live sustainably, the better. The more likely they are to partake in schemes like that. So what ingredient would you love to work with, and what product would you create?
Well, we've got lots of products in our new product development pipeline at the moment, which are all very unique, all very different. We've got upcycled custard apple. I'm working with one of the florist suppliers that we already work with at the moment to take eucalyptus offcuts from their bouquets and to hopefully turn that into a room diffuser oil using the eucalyptus sprigs to come out of the bottle. That one was actually weirdly spurred on by a book that I have written, which is a mad sentence.
You've written a book?
Yeah. I received the first copy last week.
Wow.
It's essentially like a cookbook, but it's for DIY skincare recipes and home recipes based on ingredients that you would already have that might be on the turn, or again, like a part of the ingredient that you wouldn't necessarily use in your kitchen that you can then use in skincare. So it's taking the exact Upcircle ethos and encouraging other people to have a go at making their own skincare in the same kind of way that we did, which is what started the whole brand in the first place. So in that book, one of the recipes as such that I shared was diffuser oil. And then 2 weeks after I'd finished writing that, the flower supplier that we use for our bath salts, so they supply us with upcycled rose petals that are unsold from the previous week of flower sales. They contacted us saying, well, we've got loads of eucalyptus. Do you think you can use that? And honestly, that style of conversation is what starts so many products within our range. And it's one of, again, my favorite things, because every single product that we make is collaborative with another industry, with another business, with another individual. So yeah, the eucalyptus one is one that's in early stages at the moment, and I'm excited about that. But it's crazy to think that so many seemingly unconnected industries can be brought together by a circular economy concept like ours.
That's lovely that it's such a collaborative process and that you touch so many industries. You wouldn't normally associate beauty with some of the industries you do work with, but it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even like our eye cream, that's made with upcycled maple bark extract, which is a byproduct of making furniture. It's like an eye cream and you've got furniture. You really wouldn't expect those two things to go together. But yeah, it's fun and it's creative, and it's a big part of why I love it.
And my final question for you today, what is the mantra that you live by?
Well, I think in my working life, and I suppose also my personal life to an extent, I try to say yes to opportunities that come my way. I feel like that's a big part of what's kind of got us to where we are, is just having a go. Like, don't be put off by, I don't know, feeling like you're out of your depth or might not be an expert in any kind of thing. If someone offers you something, even if it's a bit terrifying or you don't think you know what you're doing, I just try to say yes. And sometimes, yes, that will end up being regrettable or a waste of time or whatever. But most of the time, you'll have something really fun, beneficial, or at least a story to tell. So yeah, try to say yes to things, I think, is a mantra I try to live by.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start by saying yes. Thank you so much for coming today. And it's been lovely having you.
Thanks again.